See if that helps.
Thank you.
Can you hear us in the back now?
Yeah.
Oh, good. All right, we are here for a board meeting of the Hill Country Energy Sub-Regional Planning Commission. And hopefully, well, you've probably all seen the agenda since you're here and knew about it. We're going to deviate from the agenda just a little bit to respect the gentlemen from TCEQ that have come to attend a coordination meeting. We will have opportunities for public input, and I see a lot of people have signed up for that. But it will not be until the end of the coordination meeting. So that's going to proceed uninterrupted. And as a point of order, can I please ask everybody to turn these beasts on silent or off, whichever works best for you, so we don't have any disruption. And again, can people in the back hear? Pretty good. Excellent. So I think probably, well, let's start with prayer. We need God's grace to have a good outcome for this meeting. So please rise and join us in a prayer, which will be led by Commissioner Chad Carpenter.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this time that we're here together. Lord, we thank you for the ability to be in this country, in this great state, and the freedom that we have. And we also thank you for the ability to speak up when we don't like something that we see going on in our local community. Lord, we just ask that you guard our hearts, guard our tongues. Lord, let everything clear your throne before it comes out of our mouth today. We want you to be that, we want to be a light, Lord. When they see us, we want them to see you. And just go with us today as we move forward into this meeting. Just let me pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I'll go ahead and lead everyone. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good start to a meeting. Now I think it's best if we go around this table and introduce everybody so that the public knows who's here. And I certainly invite TCEQ to introduce some of your other folks that have come to join us in this meeting. So thank you. We'll start at this end.
I'm Chad Carpenter, Kendall County Commissioner, Precinct 4, Comfort Community, that part of Kendall County. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Good morning. I am Jeff Holt, Commissioner for Kerr County, Precinct 3, next door neighbor to this guy, the other county.
I'm Jennifer McCall. I'm a Kendall County Commissioner, Precinct 1, and I've been involved with this process since before I was actually sworn in, and I'm glad to be here.
Okay. And Jennifer is our Vice President as well. My name is Rich Paces. I'm Kerr County Commissioner for Precinct 2, and I'm the President of the Hill Country Energy Sub-Regional Planning Commission.
I'm Linda Bullard, and I'm the landowner representative on our commission. So I have a little ranch on Goat Creek, and also have a house in Methodist encampment here in Kerr County.
And Linda is also our secretary.
Right.
Good morning, everyone, commissioners. My name is Kelly Cook. I'm with the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, coming from our headquarters office in Austin. I'm the Deputy Director for our Critical Infrastructure Division. I have several folks here at the table with me today, but then also in the audience, if I could introduce Craig Pritzlaw. He's the director and my boss for the Office of Compliance and Enforcement with our agency. George Ortiz, he's our regional director out of our San Antonio office, and they represent the Kerrville area. And Amancio Gutierrez, which is my assistant deputy, is with us here today as well. And then we have two folks up here with me.
Yeah, good morning, morning commissioners. Appreciate the invitation to come. My name is Philip Ledbetter. I'm the director for the Office of Legal Services at TCEQ. So my office provides legal counseling services to represent the other offices, including Kelly Hooks and at TCEQ.
And then, good morning, Commissioners. My name is Joel Anderson. I'm the Area Director for the Office of Compliance and Enforcement. So I manage the San Antonio, Austin, and Waco offices. And the Office of Compliance and Enforcement, my folks are going to be the ones that come out and do the investigations at the facilities and ensure that everybody's in compliance.
Well, thank you for that. We'll go ahead and start our coordination meeting then with TCEQ. And I guess I'll start off just by, I hope you've had an opportunity to visit our website. Is that?
I have.
Okay, great. It gives a lot of background on where we stand. It's fair to say that this sub-regional planning commission was formed because of concerns with, in particular, lithium battery energy storage systems. And we've seen, sadly, too many instances where these things have a thermal runaway fire, and it can be quite devastating. And so a lot of our local citizens have expressed concerns and asked us to fight it. And how about now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, try to talk to them, but okay, I'll talk to the microphone. All right, so a lot of people have some very serious concerns and have asked both of our commissioner courts in Kendall County and Kerr County to do all we can to stop this, but we find ourselves in the sad situation that we, as commissioner courts, have no real authority. And in fact, one of the things we hope to better understand today is permitting process, particularly from the TCEQ perspective, because we find that there is no process that allows county commissioners to approve anything to do with these things. So unless they're in the floodplain or something like that, then our floodplain administrator would have to get involved. But so I think that's one of the objectives, is to understand what else is involved, particularly from a TCEQ perspective. It's been very frustrating in the coordination efforts that we've made with LCRA, who is the local grid, if you will. And they have all the substations in Kendall and Kerr County. And we are trying to get them to show up for coordination meetings, and as well as ERCOT and Public Utilities Commission of Texas. And we have had responses from them, and all this correspondence, letters going out to each of these entities and letters coming in. They're all available on our website, which for the public's information is www.HCESRPC.com. And what we're finding is their response is, well, they're not responsible for permitting anything either. So we are at a very uncomfortable and disturbing situation where it's not real clear who, if anyone, has any authority over these battery energy storage system developers in terms of actually permitting and ensuring the health, safety, and welfare of the public. So again, I think we hope to better explore that, and we are aware of some various proposed legislation in the state House and Senate that may help to better control the permitting and approval process and aspects of health, safety, and welfare. So we'll see how that goes. And I should point out that unfortunately, Representative Wes Verdell, we thought he would be attending today. He is a member of our board, but he unfortunately could not attend. And I think his local representative, Barbara Ferguson, is here. And I'm sure she'll be relaying the results of this meeting. Okay. So anybody else want to kick us off with any comments beyond what I've already put out there? So are you ready for the board member input? Not yet. The board member input. No, we're going to defer all that stuff. We're going to have the TCEQ coordination meeting and only focus on that in respect to these gentlemen have come a long way from Austin. I presume you're all, maybe one or two are out of San Antonio, but they've come a long way, and their time is precious, particularly during the legislative session. So we're going to skip over some of the other agenda items and just conclude our coordination meeting and then get on with the rest. Does that sound acceptable?
Yes.
So, I guess my request was if anyone else wants to have some opening comments, before we get into discussion with TCEQ, but that's the intent, is to find out what they know and where we can perhaps work together and better understand each other.
Okay.
So
I think
go
I'll
ahead.
start.
Yeah.
Okay. I do have a few questions and, so I guess when you guys respond, you can just, these are thoughts and questions in my mind. First of all, TCEQ should be ready for the situation that never occurs. That's the kind of things we read or hear about TCEQ. So do you have a plan for a utility grade fire, specifically BESS? That's one of my first questions. And then I guess we could let them address at the end. Otherwise,
I'd be happy to.
okay.
To be frank, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation. It's our pleasure to come and speak with you and tell you what we know. This is a new innovative technology that we're all coming up to speed on, and there's a lot of legislation being discussed right now, and hopefully they'll get some good results from that. Do we have a plan for commercial grade BESS? Specifically, no. But we do have plans to be able to support local emergency management if there is an incident at a BESS facility. The TCEQ is the state of Texas lead for your oil spill and hazardous materials annex under the state's emergency management code, and that's annex number 10. That's emergency support function 10. And as the lead for that, we either are responsible for direct support to the local government, or we're responsible for making sure the agency that is taking the actions they should be taking for emergency management. And so as that lead for emergency management support for HCESRPC, what that means is if there's a fire at a BESS facility, the BESS is a new term for me, battery energy storage systems. Yes. Then the first response is the responsibility of the facility and the local government. Now, I can tell you right now, local government is going to be overwhelmed, probably. Most likely, we've seen that. We studied the Moss Landing fire.
Yeah.
These are, the fires are with the lithium batteries can be very hot and very hard to put out. And so I would imagine, unless you have a really robust local emergency management system, you'll find yourself in a situation where you need assistance.
Yeah.
That's where we would come in and support the local government as needed to address the situation, to fight, whatever it takes to get the fire out. We're there to support with environmental sampling, air monitoring, water, sampling, any kind of, remediation efforts that are needed that the responsible party has not conducted. And first thing that we do when we show up is we give directives immediately to the responsible party that what actions they need to be taken, and that is to properly address the fire and mitigate any impacts, contain any runoff water, and try to reduce all the air emissions as possible, and do their monitoring. And if they're not able to do that, we'll step in and do it, and then we'll sue them later for cost recovery. And that's how it's set up in the state law statute.
Emergency response aspect.
So one more thing I wanted to add is that there was a TCEQ study that was done in 21 or 22. They did a simulation of first responders and their gear and equipment. They couldn't get the toxins off. You were saying this is new to you, so I just wanted to make you aware
I
of
read
that.
that too.
And so those toxins are going to go down our sewers, or they're going to go into the groundwater. And this area, especially Comfort, by the way, and again, I was talking about a utility grade failure. We have been in a continuous drought since 2022. So fire mitigation and all of this put together. Again, I'm just asking if you guys have a overall plan for a utility grade failure. So just to address.
And Kelly, let me share a little bit of personal perspective. I'm a member of the Centerpoint Volunteer Fire Department, and we have, all of the volunteer fire departments have been discussing this during the quarterly CARFA meetings, which all the chiefs get together. And effectively, we do not have the capability of putting out one of these fires. There's not enough water available to us, and there's not enough foam that be required. But thank you, but so and when you talk to the developers, their plan is to let it burn. So I think what the best of the fire departments are going to do is try to protect the surrounding, well, wildland or structures, any that might be in the way. And boy, if this were to happen at the wrong time during an excessive dry period, particularly where the winds are high, we just went through the was it the campfires up in Fredericksburg. I'm sorry, grab up. Thank you.
They're the one on I-10.
Yes, ma'am. And basically 10,000 acres burned, right? And 30 some structures were lost. I think it was 9 homes. So obviously a lot of other structures. And that's just the nature of wildfires in this kind of environment, which that was just across the border in Gillespie County. We would have a similar outcome, no doubt, if it had started here in either Kerr County or probably Kendall County. And I can't tell you how many different fire departments were brought in to combat the crabapple fire. And it was about 10 days worth of fighting that fire. And so again, the fundamental issue is we don't have any of the resources. We don't have enough water. We don't have enough foam. The best we could hope to do is keep it from spreading to the surrounding vicinity. And then as Commissioner Call was pointing out, because of the toxic contaminants, it's going to ruin all of our equipment, which, the cost of our bunker gear is about $10,000 per person. It's customized gear to fit each individual firefighter. And replacement is a good 6 months or so. So, if one of these things catches fire, it would just be devastating to our community. And we have no response plan that would come close to being adequate to deal with a thermal runaway fire. And unfortunately, we've seen too many. The Moss fire out in California is a prime example of what we're so concerned and afraid of. So I just kind of wanted to give you that added perspective. Yeah, we have an emergency response plan, but we are going to be woefully inadequate in our ability to actually respond.
And if I could say a few things along that line, is that when I say, we don't have a plan per se for that scenario like you said, we do have plans in place to come support, local government for that type of, for those types of fires. Not necessarily a big lithium battery fire, but we're always planning. That's what we do. And so this is on our radar now. And I have the emergency management support team under me, and I'm sending my folks to training with local fire departments on the best fires. And so we're actively training staff members to become more knowledgeable of how these fires work and how to fight them and be able to formulate, actions and work with contractors if we need to.
Yep.
So it's not something that we're saying we don't have a plan and we're not, that's it. It's saying this is new to us too. We're looking at it, we're studying it, and we're preparing. But we are here to support you.
Yep.
make no mistake, we will be here if there's a big fire like that. And we'll be here to support you.
And we appreciate that. But, you know, I'll bring to the public's attention that right now there is a concurrent resolution in the House. It's concurrent resolution 121. And if it passes, and hopefully it will declare the Edwards Aquifer as a state treasure, which it is. And it would also then require TCEQ specifically to take immediate and decisive action to protect the Edwards Aquifer and its recharge zones and contributing zones from irreversible contamination from treated effluents discharge by any wastewater system or toxic substances released through construction or other activities. Well, certainly the toxic substances would be released if we have a thermal runaway fire. And that's through normal operations. We're not overly concerned about construction activities. But if the worst case scenario occurs, and too many have already occurred at other locations, boy, you are going to have irreversible contamination because none of these developers are building in adequate containment systems to contain all the water that gets thrown on the fire, trying to keep it cool so it doesn't spread to other storage containers, battery storage containers. And then of course, you know, if it's anything close to the moss fire, you get a plume of toxic smoke. Here in the hill country with the kind of winds that we normally have, that plume is everywhere and it's contaminating soil all over the place and certainly in the vicinity of the rivers. And it is going to find its way into the Edwards Aquifer, which is a shallow aquifer in this area. So you will have a major problem on your hands if one of these things goes up in smoke. So, yes, sir. Want to kind of make you aware of that, and I'm hoping and praying that that concurrent resolution does in fact pass. Let's pass the microphone down to me.
I want to thank you guys for being here. I really do appreciate it, and our community does as well. One of the things that we would like to ask is, for all these developments coming in, can you help us enforce the requirement for an environmental impact study?
Anything, you know, in our purview, we'll absolutely happy to help you with.
And I want the audience to understand too that these organizations don't have legislative authority. So TCEQ doesn't have the authority to come up with their own everything just because they feel like it. That's not allowed by the state of Texas. Neither does the commissioner's court, neither does, actually cities have more authority than the commissioner's court as far as zoning and things like that. But what we are trying to work with is what we have. And one of them is an environmental impact study. And we know that there's a potential disaster in the Comfort community with the Guadalupe River being so close to the sites for possibly 3 battery storage. And so how do we require that working with a group like you guys? Because I know you guys don't, TCEQ doesn't permit a battery storage development.
The only part we permit is a what's called a construction general permit, and that's during the construction of the facility. And then once that construction is completed, that permit is terminated. And that's for that's a permit for stormwater management. But once the facility is completed, there is not another permit required by our agency at that point.
With the sensitive area with the Guadalupe River that used to flow into Canyon Lake, currently it doesn't. How do we?
We're happy to work with you, and maybe if we could get some more information on the all the circumstances associated with that, we could see what type of activities.
And there's,
I'm sorry.
I mean, the problem is during normal operations, there are no air discharges. When these things are running the way they're supposed to. And so normally there wouldn't be a permit, an air permit, for example, associated with a battery energy storage system.
Right.
It's only in kind of the worst case scenario when there's a thermal runaway fire that you have all kind of toxins that are being released, and none of these developers are wanting to try to come clean and address that. And even when they do come up with studies, which they fund, so they can have a study that gives them the answer they're looking for. You know, we found that it doesn't anywhere come close to addressing the actual temperatures and propagation of these fires that we've seen at other facilities. So, you know, how do you go about permitting something for the worst case scenario when they're going to tell you it's never going to happen, but we've seen that it has happened.
I don't ever go on won't ever happen, because my experience is it will happen. Something will happen eventually
Somewhere.
and so you have to be prepared for that. That's the good work. I think a strong emergency management plan, you know, having one of those in place, and you know, plans for containment are very important, and hopefully that's something that is done. But again, you know, we do have to work within our agency's purview and take our directions from our state leadership, and we're very happy to do that. You know, supporting the grid is important to us.
Sure.
Supporting the environment, supporting the communities is also important to us, and making sure that we're there to support local government when there's a fire, but then also in preparedness, you know, making sure that you're prepared, or coming to meetings like this to discuss the situation with you and help out any way we can. So we're happy to continue our discussion with you and to see, you know, what it is that we might be able to do or help with along that line.
I can't tell you again how much I appreciate you coming, and I know you had other things that you probably needed to do, but anyway, we really appreciate you coming and starting this dialogue, because these are very serious concerns. And I don't know how they're going to be addressed. We really do need our state legislators to step up and give us some adequate protections, which currently they're just not available. And all these developers are specifically taking advantage of that. They're targeting small counties and the unincorporated areas of the counties, because as Commissioner Carpenter pointed out, within a municipality, they can pass an ordinance that regulates or prohibits this type of development. Counties can't. We don't have that authority. And so that too is a problem, and I haven't seen a bill yet that would give us any serious authority.
And I think one of the tools in your bag for emergency management should be to engage your local emergency management planning committee. You know, they should definitely be involved. They work closely with the fire marshals, fire department, fire chiefs, and make sure that they're engaged in this issue,
right,
for the planning purposes as well.
Well, I appreciate that, and we probably need to do more along those lines. But, you know, for example, Kirk County has reached out to the state fire marshal's office, and they have been very responsive. They came and gave a presentation to our court. I think that was the end of January, but anyway, it's recently. And they are happy to, once a project is under construction and before it starts operating, they'll come and do an inspection and ensure that it complies with all of the applicable codes. But unfortunately, they don't review plans for any of this stuff. So, you know, the message we have for developers, at least in Kerr County, is we will have the state fire marshals coming out before you start operations. So you better make sure that you've done everything possible to comply with NFP's 855. Yeah, 855, and there's a couple others that are applicable as well. And unfortunately, there's some gray areas in there. They talk about having water resources to be able to combat a fire. It's not possible to have enough water contained on a site to respond to one of these fires. And our fire departments are going to have a real tough time coming up with, you know, 1 million gallons of water.
Just
And like I said, we don't have anywhere near adequate phones. So go ahead.
If I could real quick, sure. There is another document that we've located that I think might be beneficial. You may already have it. I've already read it, but something that would be worth taking a look at. And this is from the here in Texas Bureau of Economic Geology. Put a report together for us, the environmental impacts of decommissioned solar, wind, and electrical storage systems. And date on that is October of 2024.
We have seen it. We have access to it. Yeah. I think I put that on our website.
Yes.
I think that-
Oh, anyway.
Yeah, folks, you can look at that on our website if you want to dig deep about potential environmental impacts.
And they, I believe in that report, they raise the concern that, you know, there is not adequate regulation in unincorporated areas of counties.
Sure.
It could be confusing with a different report, but
Part of our challenge is to understand what's coming our way. And that's where we're very happy to have you here so we can exchange points of contact. As we realize sometimes it shows up on the ERCOT website, which we track, and then sometimes they come directly to courts. So if I could maybe characterize what we're looking at both in Kerr and Kendall County, just to level set what we've heard about potential sites. First of all, you have to understand where the transmission substations are. And that can be challenging. Why? Because a lot of them are critical infrastructure. And you can't really find a good map unless you create one that shows where they're all at. And we have created a map and we have an understanding between both of our counties, Kendall and Kerr, where the substations are. And they are mostly done by LCRA, but you will also see some Bandera in there and some Pedernales as well, in both Kendall and Kerr. But we also track the counties that are contiguous to us as well, like Gillespie, and then Bandera as well. We've reached out to both those counties and commissioners to understand where we're at. The challenge really for us, not just in Comfort, but throughout our two counties, is the location of these substations.
Yeah.
As you know, they grew up right amongst the need. The need was very close to rivers because that's where homes went. That's where the water was, right? So they're right next to rivers, right next to communities. It poses what we see as a threat, which is why I would say West Fiddel's first bill, which started off everything, is a proximity bill. 1,500 feet, 500 yards, geographically separate from a home to where a potential best site. And he did that for a reason in Basin, based upon the impact of the growth of the substation there. So in Kendall, yes, we are tracking 3 on the main hub station. And that started the discussion for all of us. 2 of which are planned on 138 kV lines. And they are large facilities, and 1 which is planned on a 345 kV undisclosed megawatt. So that is what's planned in Kendall right now, understanding there are 8 more substations throughout Kendall County. And it's growing, right? The demand is growing. But make no mistake, Comfort is the hub for our power. Everything comes in or out of that. That's why they're targeting that 1 substation with potentially the largest you're going to have in Texas. If the numbers come out on that 345 kV line to match the kV, which if you look, most of them kind of match the kV, right? 150, 250. They get pretty close to megawatts matching kV because they have enough power as a resource to store, buy cheap, sell high, right? That's their business model. We got it. So in our county, we are tracking an approval already on the ERCOT website, and that's where we first found it, of a project in Mountain Home. It's right off one of our highways in I-10 in Mountain Home. We also are tracking 2 other potential sites that they have looked at. One of which is in Center Point. They have expressed some interest. It never made it on the ERCOT website. And so you mentioned that there's another site, Kelly, discussion that we should track outside of the ERCOT website. That's what today is about. It's about learning and understanding on where we're currently at within our two communities to be able to understand these sites. So with that being said, we do have significant concerns. There is some technology they use currently on the East Coast to put out smaller lithium fires. And that's cell block. It's expensive. We can't afford it. It's used to put out bikes and scooters. Will it grow because it works? I sure hope so. Because what we saw in two different communities in California is an indication of what may happen here. The first one, which is near San Diego and Otay Mesa, which is southern San Diego, they let that one burn and try to put it out with water. And as you know, 1 to 8 million gallons of water put on that. What's right south of it? The Tijuana River, which goes right to the ocean. That was all lithium ion because it was older technology, which releases nickel, manganese, and cobalt. Once, it's in the plume, which is what happened when they let it all burn up in Monterey area, as you were aware of the Moss Landing. And now environmentally, would you want to be them right now? I wouldn't. That's a long-term study and long-term issue, not just locally, but statewide, that they are going to deal with because of the size of that facility. They did shut the remaining plants down that are battery storage on that side at Moss Landing. There are 3, but when one 300 megawatt and do all the battery math that goes with it went up, and that's all toxins that went into their natural ecosystem, which they cherish just like we do. So we're trying to plan for that. We understand the growth is this. It's at least 19,000 megawatts. ERCOT has put the demand out. It's even increasing, I think, from that, which equates to around 922 BESSes.
Except that ERCOT's telling us that they don't specify where these things are going to be. And
they don't specify where, but they do have the demand signal. That's in writing and it's on their websites. That's the demand signal. And companies are trying to meet that. And that became our concern probably a year and a half ago, and we saw the maturity of these companies. It's not Bandera Electric that's doing it as a power plant. It's not LCRA as a company that's doing it. These companies are popping up left and right as startups with different levels of engineering and sophistication. But the funding is there through green bonds. And they get discounts with tax credits to buy the equipment. And not all the equipment is safer to use. We have seen some examples of maybe safer technology, like lithium phosphate, but most of them are cheaper on discount on lithium ion, which presents significant challenges to make sure that it's safe.
And all made in China.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. We're going to hold comments to the end. It is a concern that we have and we understand. As long as you're tracking it as well, we'd be grateful on that and share information where these things are presented to you. So after a long kind of discussion I just gave you, what kind of information do you receive from the companies? There's your question.
What kind of information do we receive from the companies now?
Yes, that present a plan. I know it's construction and you're thinking storm water, but we would love to know makeup, size, megawatt, safety procedures, everything that comes, and we only get it if they choose to present it.
Right. And so in the construction permit application, the few that I've looked at there after talking with our water quality folks, I don't think it really gets into necessarily the size of the facility and the makeup. The other item that we
you at least
received.
have the location and the numbers where they
Right.
that alone is helpful.
Okay. And so we have we received approximately 85 of those. And
Which area?
all over the state.
Yeah.
I didn't see any of those in, Kerr, Kendall County. Now, and those are, those could already be expired, once the construction's complete. Some of them aren't. We also, we had some facilities file a tier 2 report with us. And so one of the difficulties we're facing, and this is something we're working hard to correct, is both on the construction permit and if the tier 2 report is submitted, it's not always clear that this is a report for the battery storage facility, because the battery storage facility in some cases is part of a solar array facility or, part of a wind farm or other system. And so it's not always identified as it's just an element of, but not standalone battery storage facility. So being able to go through, identify which of these have those battery storage facilities is something we're working on. But so the tier 2 reports are to report that's filed yearly, that is filed for emergency management planning purposes. It identifies hazardous materials that are stored on the site during that year. They can also file update reports that would be filed, that could be due anytime during the year as well. But those reports are then used for with your fire departments, your local emergency planning committee, LAPCs, for planning purposes. So those are important to have. Now, one of the issues involved there is with the lithium battery sites, it's kind of a unique issue where with lead batteries, it's pretty clear, lead. But with the lithium battery, lithium's lighter. There's a certain, you have to have 10,000 pounds of a hazardous substance that's required to have a safety data sheet associated with it. And then you'd be required to file a report. And so making the determination that they just with the battery components that they meet that threshold and file the report it is something that the facilities are coming up to speed on. And we're going to help.
Have you seen any of those kind of reports on battery storage systems?
We've seen 59.
Frankly, I don't think we have any idea how many pounds of lithium would be involved in one of these.
There's not a whole lot. It's not like there's a difference that I'm no way an expert on this. When you have a car battery, it's lithium. There are a lot more lithium and mineral components in there than in the type of batteries that are the battery storage facilities. I think one of the problems with the battery storage facilities is when those are no longer viable for use, they're damaged or they're just worn out. I think taking 10 years is like the lifespan. We manage when they become waste, we are also involved in that and regulate the disposal for those products. But so the batteries in the electric vehicles have a recycling value more so than the recycling value, from what I understand, for the battery storage facility. So I think that's another issue that has to be worked out is there going to be a viable option when these have to be recycled, or are you going to have recyclers that are interested in that, and so on.
That's certainly one of the concerns we have is, I don't know if it's actually a 10-year life, but 5 to 10 years down the line, when these things aren't as efficient as they initially were, what is going to happen to all those batteries? And I'm aware that the largest lithium battery recycling facility was in Missouri, and it recently had a catastrophic fire and burned to the ground. So the biggest recycling facility is no more. And yet what obligation do they even have? Or can they just walk away? And that's a huge concern.
And we're here today to tell you what we know.
Yeah.
This is new to us too. We're coming up to speed on some of these issues like you are, and we'll probably know a lot more in a year.
Yeah.
But we're certainly committed to working with you and sharing whatever information we do have.
Does TCEQ have any plans to do an independent study on a thermal runaway fire, or to at least do a review of, for example, Moss Landing and the environmental impact associated with that?
No formal plans, but I can tell you, I'm reviewing it.
I would ask that you do it. I think it would benefit all of Texas to get TCEQ involved in looking at the worst case scenario, because right now no one is.
But informally, we are doing that.
Okay.
And as I said, I asked my folks to come up to speed on it, the hazards involved, and get training and be ready to be prepared to deal with those situations in the future. We're here to support, we support the regulated community, we support local government for, a safe, sustainable environment. And that's our charge. The economic liability is also involved there. We're here to make sure that, at the end of the day, though, human health and safety and environment, is our main goal.
Do you have the authority to come up with a plan for decommissioning? As far as, can we force some type of a bond in the beginning of the process when they're putting these plants in, where at the end of the battery life, they have a specific, they need a fund set aside in order to handle these batteries responsibly?
Right.
And at what point do you guys, I guess two questions. Do you have the authority to make up rules to regulate the decommissioning? And what does it take for you to go back to the legislators from TCEQ's office and say, y'all need to do something here. We need your help on this, because we're being asked to do something that we don't have the authority.
I'm gonna defer to our legal counsel. Before I do that, we do have the authority for the waste management for the batteries when they're no longer a battery that can be used and have to be disposed of. But for a battery that is still usable, that wouldn't apply. But just speaking to your question, Philip.
Yeah, thank you. It's a good question. There are a couple of different routes we normally go to get a rulemaking undertaken. Normally
We
it's
can't hear.
Normally, it's in response to a legislative requirement. So, for instance, you referenced there's some legislation. I think there's at least 3 bills that require different aspects of, dealing with these types of facilities. So maybe we will end up with some direction from the legislature about doing that. Another option is you can file under certain circumstances a petition to initiate a rulemaking with the TCEQ. I don't know off the top of my head if there is a specific, if this would fit in with one of the programs. So generally speaking, we have established programs for management of waste and control of and pollution emissions and management of wastewater, those kind of things. And those have overarching federal requirements. Usually they go along with it. So like, rather than have the federal government have a rule, we get primacy and say, we want Texas regulating Texans. We're going to conduct our own rulemaking. So we have Texas legislature enact statutes and then we adopt the rules. So we don't have those kind of rules per se for these facilities. But like, for example, these are, over time you have different issues come up. For example, like petroleum storage tanks, I think would probably be something, that raises similar concern, especially with regard to groundwater. So, many years ago, it was pretty easy to open up a shop and put a tank in the ground and fill it up petroleum. And then over time, we developed rules, you require financial assurance. It's either a bond or, some other form of credit or something like that's required. And some people maintain that, some people don't. There are a lot of requirements, but we consistently, I guess on the back end, our office also has an enforcement aspect. So, they're required typically to if under rules and those kind of requirements, are supposed to submit reports, maintain, update these kind of things, we review that material. If they don't comply, we send notices, you need to give speed on this. If you don't do that, we're gonna notice you for a violation for enforcement. And that kind of process plays out. Another kind of scenario I kind of think has some similar aspects of this. It's like, we regulate a lot of petrochemical facilities, and, like, they'll get into permits to discharge wastewater because they generate wastewater on site. They get permits to emit some contaminants in the air at a level that we think is safe, but they can have fires, and they routinely, you see it in the news, and Houston area, you'll see fires, and we don't authorize that. And you can have certain permits, but you're never authorized to do things like have a fire that discharges wastewater into groundwater or emit toxic emissions. So, part of what we're doing is saying we have some general prohibitions, and if you get out of line with those, then we, part of the plan is that if we can't anticipate everything, we can at least try to deal with it as it arises, so we can go through an enforcement with the TCEQ, or we work with the Texas Attorney General's office and bring suits to require cleanups, to impose civil penalties and that kind of thing. I personally used to work at the Attorney General's office doing that type of work, so I've worked on a number of cases where we, sued large corporations for these kind of fires and that kind of thing, and we're trying to get people to deal with petroleum storage tank. I think these battery storage systems are just kind of at the forefront. I think this is, what you guys are doing is really smart. Trying to get a plan together and try to identify all the issues. Working with the legislature, I can empathize with the commissioners on the panel. We live in the same Edwards-Lockenberg zone. But in a prior work, I used to work at the County Judges Commissioner Association and work with a lot of different commissioners courts across the state. And I understand that the authority is limited, for what you can do, especially with regard to zoning. And I feel like TCEQ faces a similar limitation. We have lots of people who are happy with permits that can be obtained because of where they're going to be located. And we frequently have to deal with that frustration because we just don't have the power given to us by the legislature to make those determinations.
Go ahead.
It's,
Speak up.
just a follow-on question concerning, authority. You mentioned the federal government, and I just wondered if you could explain that overlap. For example, where the Federal Environmental Protection Agency has a role to play, could potentially help us here, how you interact with it, and whether we should look into that at all. And then I have a couple of other questions.
Yeah, like I mentioned, there are two layers typically on a lot of environmental law. So it's like the Federal Clean Air Act, Federal Clean Water Act. They have specific requirements in the Environmental Protection Agency or some other agencies will adopt rules. And then at the state level, we also have a Clean Air Act, a Clean Water Act. But we do coordinate with our federal counterparts to the extent we can. I don't recall this particular issue coming up with them, but I think they're an appropriate party to, solicit cooperation from. They have similar prohibitions on authorized waste charges, unauthorized emissions in the air.
You mentioned filing a petition. Can you send us some additional information about that process and how we would go about it? Because frankly, we're willing to try everything and anything if it might help. So I'm interested.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'll look into. I'll send you the information. I'll I tried to look into specifically if this is the type of thing I think that would be effective. Sure.
And I'll just, you brought the oil and gas industry into it, and that's where I spent my career before county government. And, it took a long time to get adequate regulations in place to protect the environment, particular from oil and gas, particularly offshore things. And so, yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I'm sure someday we'll get there, but I don't think we have the time to wait.
Yeah.
This is a critical issue right now, and the potential is so dramatic. If one of these things actually has a major thermal runaway fire, the consequences are just going to be devastating to certainly the environment in the hill country, but I suspect a lot of other places. So at what point does the state government, this isn't necessarily a TCEQ question, but at what point does somebody just look at the big holistic picture and say, the risks outweigh the benefits? And we should look at particularly when you look at global events and cybersecurity, that everybody's more than familiar about cybersecurity. And man, the attacks that we get on our county network, wasn't it 1 million a day? 1 million hits trying to probe and get into our county network and cause all kind of damage that way. Well, these are all unmanned facilities. So they are remotely monitored, which makes them very susceptible to cyber attacks. And considering how susceptible, well, number one, how important the Texas grid is to everybody in Texas, boy, we're just open the door wide open for a major cybersecurity attack that would take down the grid. It wouldn't take that much. And we're approving putting systems in that would create that possibility and make it all too easy. So, any comments you might want to share? I mean, this is serious stuff.
Yeah.
Right now, I think the legislations that's proposed in the Texas legislature right now recognizes that at least I know there are 3 bills with 3 authors and multiple co-authors, so you have.
There's more than that.
Yeah, and so I think things that have been discussed, financial assurance, a site plan, a permitting process, public meeting, fire code, those appear to all be bills that are currently in the legislature right now. I was reading one that requires the commission, but I believe in this case, it's the Public Utilities Commission to put together a permit process. And before that site is hooked up, they have to do the site assessment for environmental and species impact, historical and aesthetic impacts, as well as get, buy off from the state fire marshal. So I think that it's recognized, and I think we're going through that process to get us there. With respect to, the TCEQ, most of those rules are going through the PUC and or the state fire marshal. With that said, as Philip said, we do have a rulemaking process. We do have, TCEQ does have financial assurance requirement in very specific circumstances, public petroleum storage tanks, because we're dealing with a regulated substance. We also regulate almost every aspect of a gas station, every component that's in the ground, above ground. So that's why that financial assurance stays with us. Recycling facilities, a lot of recycling facilities are going to have financial assurance as part of their authorization. But again, what a recycling facility is handling is waste, right? Otherwise, it would be a waste, which we handle waste. So because you're a recycling facility and you're handling waste, we make you have that financial assurance. We also require, in some of those cases, a fire prevention plan. But again, they're handling material that we regulate. As was said earlier, we're not going to permit a fire, right? So, that aspect is going to be, obviously avoiding that. And that more times than not is going to be through fire code.
Well, I understand. I respect that. The issue is though, who's really looking at it to ensure that we're taking into account the worst case scenarios. And I recognize that, no one's going to permit a thermal runaway fire. It wouldn't happen, but that doesn't mean it won't happen. And so are we going to just kind of sit around on our hands and wait until it does?
So as Kelly mentioned, we're reviewing what happened at Moss Landing and
Yes.
what happened on the West Coast with respect to the fires. And we're ensuring that we have the monitoring capabilities to respond should that occur. And looking at like how do we need to modify our debris management plans after the fact? And what actions need to be taken, during the response? Because again, that'll be my folks that are out here that are gonna integrate with incident command, that are gonna be deployed to do the air monitoring and the water, waste, or not wastewater, but fire runoff water. What do we need to be looking for? What decisions do we need to make in the field in that situation to mitigate some of those environmental impacts? So we are looking at
That's good. That's good.
Can I ask real quick, what financial assurance, can you explain that a little more? When you say financial assurance?
So with respect to our waste rules, if you're going to be recycling waste, you have to have a financial assurance bond to, if you walk away, if you go bankrupt or just choose to walk away, whatever's left behind, that there's money there for the state to come in and claim that material.
So do you have any of those for any existing best facilities like in Mason and?
So again, when we do it with respect to a recycling facility, that material that's at that recycling facility is a waste, except it's being recycled.
Okay.
And so we have turnover. You have to, recycle 50% in every 6 months, and you have to demonstrate that it is usable somewhere to somebody. Think about tires and shingles and mulching. So a battery energy storage site, no, but the battery recycling facility, yes, we would have input over that facility.
Would there be any circumstances where TCEQ would support financially through grants any asbestos? Because we have heard
We have seen.
perhaps there are two that were supported through grants and TCEQ. And if that is true, why?
Right.
Hard question, I know.
So that, yes, that could be possible. That's something that, we've seen a few of those as well. There are, innovative technologies.
Technology implementation.
Say that a little louder.
New technology implementation grant program. It's in the air.
It's part of the Texas Emission Reduction Program.
In our air program.
Yes.
Could you repeat that? We didn't hear.
It is the new technology implementation
Grant.
grant program through the Texas Emission
Reduction program.
So y'all are giving millions of dollars grants to these foreign countries that are coming over to do business in Texas.
Yeah, I got to ask that all of the public
Sorry,
comments
I
are held
apologize.
till we get to the.
We're happy to get you more information on that right now. We represent, our compliance and enforcement, emergency response, emergency management, field operations, component, but, happy to provide whatever other information we can get for you on that.
Yeah.
Find if that's follow up.
Yeah, I had a specific question on that. So if y'all are gonna be getting information for us, what I had was how much money TCEQ actually has to disperse through that grant program, what the source of the funds was. And the deadline for applications was just this past January 7th. So how many applications did you actually receive? And although it's probably too soon to have evaluated them for awarding, if you have awarded any, could you also let us know which ones have been awarded? And also, yeah, could we have a list of the specific BESs who've asked for, this is public money, right? Could be considered public money. And, or would it be posted online, or can we get a list of it?
We'll find whatever we have and get it to you.
Okay, great. And I mean, the fact that was it a policy initiative of TCEQ to essentially support BESS, battery energy storage systems, by giving grants to them? So, and yet we just keep hearing, and it's also in the report you mentioned, that there's a scarcity of data about the safety and environmental impacts of these BESS. And yeah, it seems like putting the cart before the horse for TCEQ to have made a policy decision to give a lot of money to bring them in without having first fully evaluated whether, what their impact on the environment is.
We're happy to look at that and get that information back to you. As you know, as an agency, we have a lot of grant programs. I have a huge grant program myself where we return millions of dollars collected through our Tier 2 program to the local emergency management planning committees for counties for emergency planning purposes. And if these are part of our Clean Air Act initiatives, certainly happy to look at that and answer those questions for you. Those are good questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna ask you directly to do us a favor, and especially the Comfort Kendall County community. Medina Lake is dry. Canyon Lake is maybe 45%. I would like to ask you guys to find a way, and I don't know that we have the authority from our courts to declare a disaster declaration for our drought situation. But I would ask you to deny all public water supply permits, all these big developments coming in. Currently in Comfort, we have no water supply other than the WCID, and they're at max capacity, and they continue having problems with their wells. If a fire breaks out, you're gonna have a worse situation than what you saw on the West Coast when firefighters hook up to a fire hydrant, which we don't have anywhere near these BESS systems. There's no fire hydrant to hook up to, which means we're not going to run out of water because we don't have the water to fight anything other than a 30,000 gallon tank that's sitting next to the facility. I just think that all the rules right now that govern battery storage, this is happening faster than everyone was prepared for. But I'm going to ask you directly, because I don't know when I'm going to have another chance to be in a meeting with you guys. Every permit that comes through where someone's asking for large developments, for big home developments, or big, we ask you to stop that right now based off of disaster. It's a problem.
Yeah, we'll take that back.
I know that you have to, there's certain things you can and can't do within your authority and your powers, but we seriously have a drought situation. And even our local government isn't even paying attention to the seriousness of what we're seeing right now. And so thank you.
Sure. And then there is a process through the Division of Emergency Management for each county to request disaster declarations related to drought. So that's a process in place.
How do we do that? How do we, from a county, how do we approach you and ask for you guys to put a moratorium on development? How can we?
Do you can speak to that?
Yeah, I'm not sure I can think of a specific moratorium.
I'd like to be the first county.
What I normally see are, folks come in and apply for a permit, say for discharging wastewater, because whatever development they're gonna create is gonna produce wastewater that they're gonna have to deal with. And we get protests, but what we do essentially is conduct public meetings to solicit feedback from folks, and then you can make specific comments about why you think it should or should not be granted. And this is all, like, we provide notice publicly that we received this permit application. You can protest, and then you can also ask for this to be referred to a contested case hearing, which is sort of like when the court at an administrative level. And then all of that goes up to the 3 commissioners who sit at the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality to make their decisions. So we process the permit applications, whether they meet the requirements under the law, then we look at the comments, the hearing request, then we say, okay, here's what we received, commissioners, here's our recommendation, and then it's up to them.
How often would you say a permit is denied? And I'm not trying to be difficult. I really want to know if you have 10 huge developments come in, is it almost 100%?
I have no idea, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm sure we know, and we can get with the right folks that have an answer for you.
I know we're putting you on the spot.
But no, I understand the concern, and I see it, we get lots of comments, we get lots of great requests. We have to do our job just to, and the law, the way it says, and it's the commission should make that ultimate decision.
The Hill Country is a wonderful place to live. And as a result, a lot of people are moving here. We see all sorts of development. But water is still the most critical resource. And at some point, we kind of run out.
We noticed on the way over this morning that used to be you could drive out this direction and you'd be out in the country for quite a while, but it seems like the city never ended, the development never ended on the way.
Yeah, that's
It's changed a lot.
it has. And evidence is it's just going to continue. So it's slowed down a little bit for a lot of different reasons, but it's still a major concern. And there's still a lot of large developers who are trying to come into our counties to put more people in houses. Yeah, go ahead.
So staying with the legal department, I'd kind of like to start with the basics. I mean, you mentioned this is new for everybody, but I'd like to talk about your definition of battery energy storage systems, the definition that TCEQ uses. And I'd like to know whether you consider a BESS dispatchable energy generating unit, a dispatchable energy generating unit. And the reason why I'm asking what definition you actually are using is that I understand that TCEQ has a procedure which gives people who live near a proposed dispatchable energy generating unit the right to request a contested hearing. And this happened recently in Hood County that I became aware of. So if our citizens of Kerr or Kendall County who live next to a proposed BESS project, if you consider it a new dispatchable energy generating unit, could they get a contested hearing at TCEQ? And how would they go about requesting a contested hearing?
Sorry, just taking notes. This is all sort of a novel concept, I guess. And I'm not familiar with that specific contested case hearing procedure that you're referencing, so I can look into it and follow up. I apologize, just don't know off the top of my head. And I think if our office would be in the position of advising the executive director, ultimately make recommendations to the commission on what we think, whether it's qualified or not. So I can definitely follow up and look into this specific question about like how you would request a contested case hearing for that specific type of facility. I don't know if I could give you a straightforward answer about like whether we think the best in the way that what your definition of best is, whether it fits in with that definition or not.
Actually, the Public Utilities Code. PUC, the Public Utilities Code, does define gas as a generating asset. So I thought that it might be able to get a contested hearing under those terms. So, but that's good.
Do we have any other questions for TCEQ from the board members?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I actually had a bunch, but I do want to hear from the public too. But in this report that you mentioned, which looks to be really good. I wish I could get a printed copy of it. But let me see. Hold on 1 second. Let me just show back to this. It does look briefly, very briefly. It's not really the role of this report, but it looked briefly at the issue of environmental impact of best fires. And it said, of notice and concern, and one worth a separate category. So I hope you will examine that, is the risk of battery fire or thermal runaway that could create hazardous conditions for first responders, firefighters, facility neighbors, and the environment. And I just wanted to talk for just a second about this issue of facility neighbors, because I think it is far too limited when we examine the impact of a best fire. And in support of my thinking that it's too limited a term and concept, I just wanted to show a friend of mine from Northern California. He took a picture in his local food co-op of a sign, and it was much bigger than this, but I'm just going to read it. This was a notice to the food co-op members. Do you know about the recent tragic Moss Landing lithium fires? In an abundance of caution, we're now doing our best to avoid the farms we know to be directly affected by the toxic heavy metal smoke plumes from the lithium battery storage plant. Until we have information from the farms that they have tested their soils and are hopefully safe, we may have a shortage of some products that are currently grown primarily in the area north to northeast of Moss Landing. Thanks for your understanding as we perform our due diligence to protect our food safety. So the interesting thing about this, my friend does not live in the area of Moss Landing. He lives 200 miles north of there. So why 200 miles north of there are they concerned about the impact of the Moss Landing fire on their food supply? And it's because they buy products from that agricultural area that was affected by this fire. And also those products don't just stay in the state of California, they're actually shipped to Texas as well. So I just wanted to put in a request that the impact be enlarged, and that it's not just sufficient to do samples of the soil and the water in the immediate vicinity or 10-mile radius or whatever, that the impacts are going to affect the food supply and also the health of people much further away.
Well, I think it's fair to emphasize that any kind of a fire here, again, it's gonna make its way into our groundwater that we all rely on. And it's gonna make it into the Edwards Aquifer. It's gonna first hit the rivers, but you know, that's all part of the recharge zone. And imagine the devastation to a county population of 53,000 people when our water's no longer safe.
Yeah.
Or we don't have any.
Well, or that's a different matter.
I have one, but I'll make it quick, but it's just a question because, it may seem off topic, but, I think it's directly related. And it's to know if TCEQ has begun to look at environmental impacts of cryptocurrency mining operations and AI data centers. And the reason why I consider this relevant is because what we're seeing is that wherever we get a BESS coming in, right on its tails is a cryptocurrency mining operation or an AI data center. And there seems to be a pretty strong relationship. And I just wondered if TCEQ has been, tasked at all to look into those environments.
Not that I'm aware of.
My understanding is there are some, I guess, AI data centers that are being built that have their own power generating unit that runs off natural gas. So we would write a permit, an air permit would be submitted for that particular electrical generating unit that's associated with. Because yes, to your point, I understand that my understanding is these facilities take a tremendous amount of energy. So, yes, I am aware that there are some that do have their own electrical generating unit as part of the building, and then that would be permitted from an air emissions standpoint.
Right, but just quickly to follow on, in particular, and this is again in Hood County, they have one of these where the local population, and it's also related, yes, to power generation, but the local population has begun to experience serious health impacts because of the sound frequency coming from them. And is that kind of health impact something that TCEQ considers?
So the health impact would be studied through Department of State Health Services.
Okay.
When you start talking about health impacts, you'd want to speak to them.
Okay. Yeah.
If you need, losing my voice, if you need a contact, I'm happy to see what I can find. So you don't, if you need a contact with DSHS, I'm happy to find someone for you so you don't have to call over there and get referred around. Such.
Maybe one last question, and it's gonna be a hard one again. This is yours. From the state of Texas, what guidance have you been given battery energy storage system, and where do you receive your guidance for that to allow that solar or wind development on the grid? Where are we heading in all this? What guidance have you been given?
I can't speak from a leadership aspect, but I know on the emergency management preparedness front, I've been asked to be prepared to support local government if there's an incident, and to do what we can to become aware of the population of facilities. I don't know if you want to speak more to that.
Just internal discussions, right, on what my investigators need to prepare for, in responding to.
They can't hear you.
Yeah, again, to Kelly's point, just working with Kelly and my management to ensure that my investigators, the ones that are going to be out in the field and responding with incident command, that they have the knowledge of what they might encounter, and that we have the proper instrumentation to monitor for those, but mainly just personally just working with Kelly and his guys on that.
Well, I hope you'll take this information back. You've got a lot of good information if you're gonna do any kind of preparation. I think we'll have this on our website too, this meeting. So hopefully take this information back and
We will.
put it into the preparations.
And I think our secretary does an outstanding job preparing our minutes, and she'll no doubt list the questions that we've
Thank you.
tasked for you. So hopefully you'll see that by next week. Let's put it that way. Okay, so I think that's all of the questions we have from our board members. It is a public meeting, and we're kind of obligated to have public input. So if you guys have a little bit more time and are willing to take any questions from the public.
Yes, sir. Would be happy to.
Okay, great. So golly, I've got a whole bunch of people signed up. But of course, in respecting everybody's time, if your question has already been addressed, then let it go. But if you want to ask something that no one else up here has already asked, by all means. So I have a Leslie Hahn from Gillespie County that's here somewhere. Would you like, you have something you want to address? Make sure the mic is on.
It's
Yeah, that might.
We have a mic.
But how about Mike Thonis? 90 Lake Ridge Road. Is Mike here? Some people have left. Okay. Is that Rex? Joe Ricks?
It's always easy. You have a hard time pronouncing it.
Yeah. Okay. I apologize for.
That's all right. I'm used to it.
Okay, well, come on up to the podium and
Just a quick question. Oh, look at this.
well, that's even better.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So question I've got, we go all the way downstream with a lot of things on how to deal with this. I like the idea of swimming back upstream where the problem is. And so I would ask, here's the question. I would ask the company, why aren't we asking the company? They're telling us to let the fire burn. That's what they're going to do. They don't need to do a study, in my opinion. They know that we put water on it, it's going to get worse. It's going to have runoff. We know all that. They also know that it's not going to be contained. So they say, let it burn. If I was running the fire scene, I'd say, let it burn. That's what you're going to do. Put water on it, it's going to get worse. It produces its own oxygen. It just, you can put 1 million gallons on it, but then you got to contain it. I mean, and they're telling us, let it burn. So that's what is supposed to happen. So the idea is we're going to allow them, and this is a question, we're going to allow them to tell us, let it burn. They don't have to tell us this toxic stuff is not going to stay in the perimeter of their designated property. And so as a fire department, we should be telling them, again, forgive me if I understand it's a question, but we can't manage this. So why, as a fire department, we always say we can handle anything, we're going to handle anything, but we can't. So how did they get away with staying upstream? They're telling us, let it burn. It's not going to stay contained. And somehow, it's our tax dollars. We don't have any authority. We need to, I honestly could give a rip about excuse me for losing my thought, but all the regulation is typically imposed against us. Here we are, it's our own money that's being used to do something we don't want. They're telling us it's bad. Why aren't we going on? And here's my question. Why aren't we going on the offensive, sue them, tell them they need to indemnify all of us for the risk we're taking? Something But they can just say, this is what you need to do when these things burn. And then leave it to us. And then we're supposed to figure out how to deal with it. Why aren't we on the offensive with this and thinking outside the box? This is new, right? This is new stuff. So we got to come up with a new thing instead of going to the cardboard boxes of regulation, which we need to get rid of most of them, and allows them to do this to us. I mean, how do you, if I was in a court of law, I'd say, whatever gave you folks the right, not you folks, but these, whatever gave you the right to think that this was okay? You want a bond for waste? This is gonna happen. It happens all over, but we have to study it. They're telling us, let it burn. If you breathe this stuff, we're all living close enough. People burn and you can smell it, but hey, if it's wood, it's fine. Somebody burns their trash, not so fine. This stuff burns. We're talking life-changing health issues. I mean, it's not a secret. We're pretending like, I feel like I'm in a research and development group, right? I don't want to take the risk. We know. So again, and excuse me for the long-windedness, but why aren't we on the offense with folks that are telling us that if this goes up, they're going to let the toxic smoke go into our communities, onto our properties, our livestock, people we love, our neighbors? Why are we doing that? And trying to fix it down the stream with what fire department's going to do and all this stuff. They have a responsibility to contain it, and they're telling us they can't. But they think the fire department can somehow minimize it. They're saying we can't. If they could contain it, they'd build something around it, contain it.
I think what you're hitting on, and I appreciate the question, sir. How do we reduce fire threat? Because putting water on it doesn't work. We saw that in Otay Mesa, right? And we can't do that here because we don't have the water. But one additional thought would be a regulation of minimal distance between units. Because what we've seen in both cases is the batteries were all stacked very close together because they were older and indoor facilities. Where now you currently see them some degree of separation between container units, right? I don't think it's enough currently, because one unit, when it catches on fire for thermal runaway, can catch the next unit, no matter what you do with the own internal fire suppression systems, which are foam, kind of a joke, but they do have those individually per container. And that is the issue. And what we can maybe help is a study from TCEQ to say, what is the minimal amount of distance we should have? Because that would drive their decisions on how much acreage they need, right? To be able to protect, so one unit couldn't catch the next unit on fire and create a much larger problem that we can't handle.
Yeah, and to that point, we talked about it earlier, there is a bill, right, that's been proposed that requires the state fire marshal to develop that fire code, right? Which would be, I would assume, I'm not a fireman, but I would assume minimal separation distance and minimal amount of foam and all that. And as it was written, and I apologize, I've been on my phone, I've been trying to figure out where they are in committee. It also requires a 3-year assessment to review that plan and make sure that it, I guess everything's still pressurized or whatever that might be. So going back to, I believe that those gaps have been identified and are hopefully going to be addressed through some legislation. But that's out there, that the state fire marshal, a bill to get the state fire marshal to develop that fire code.
May I ask one more question?
That's what it would be.
And part of the fire code.
Yeah, and Joe, just to answer, again, from a firefighter perspective, we're not going to try to put that fire out.
Yes, sir.
We're going to try to protect the adjoining structures so that it doesn't get a lot worse.
Yes, sir.
Or if it's somehow sparks fly and,
And if I may,
around.
I'm a retired firefighter. I was a fire investigator. I'm not an expert, right? I'm just a nuts and bolts guy. But I really am not concerned with the fire. I'm concerned with the smoke, with the toxic plume. That's why you let it burn. But now the hazard is the toxic plume. It doesn't matter how close these things are. It doesn't matter. If it's just burning, you know, I mean, we let natural gas fires burn because the hazard is going up in the flame, right? It's burning the natural gas. But these toxins, they're going to your houses, right? It's going to all of our homes and our livestock. And honestly, I'll just put it this way, and I'll be quiet. I'll sit down and let somebody else speak. The plan, and I feel confident, and you know, life safety. I mean, if you do this in some regard, you don't have to. You know, we all are concerned about life. This is one of those issues that you just let the thing burn and you get everybody out of there, because what's in the atmosphere, what you're breathing, is the hazard. The bushes, yeah, you want to contain it. But if you're breathing it, honestly, I'm going to let the bushes burn. I'm going to come to your house and tell you, get out. The plumes come into your house. Don't breathe this stuff. I'm not worried about 10,000 acres. I'm worried about 100 people. Whatever it is, your livestock, get them out. You can have that, you know, you can do the separation. I get that, but the fire is not the problem. It's that toxic plume. They need to contain it, and we're not there. We're in a research and development capsule out here, and they're using us for that. And they're telling us, and being honest, let it burn.
So I'd also like to say that what you can do is to reach out to those legislators, because the more that they hear,
To who?
we're gonna try and put as much, we have some
Legislators.
legislators. We're trying to put as much legislation on our website as we can to show what addresses best from our different legislators between Kendall and Kerr counties. And the more that they hear, you know, get your friends involved. You showed up today. Speak to them and let them know as they go through these bills, what your intentions and your concerns are.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do we have Esther Schneider? If you'd like to ask a question.
Thank you. I live in Gillespie
Oh,
County.
that microphone
Oops, wrong
doesn't
one.
work.
Okay, hang on.
That does.
I live in Gillespie County and we are part of our crew here that is also fighting this, and we are going to use litigation. I have one statement first and then a question. The first one is the level of deception by all of the agencies statewide, starting with the governor, PUC, all of them. These discussions have been taking place for 4 to 6 years, all done without our knowledge. And I'm angry about that. We, the taxpayer, the ratepayer for all of these local co-ops are going to pick up the tab for this, for them to build it, to fix it, everything, the destruction, and they will walk away. Okay. This is where the deception is. PUC has known this for a long, long time. And you talk about the Bitcoin mining. This is the next phase of it that we're just now hearing. We had a meeting with CTEC in Gillespie last week, and we find out they're having meetings with Peregrine Energy every 2 weeks. Wait a minute, you've never notified any of us. That's bullshit. Sorry, I speak very frank. I don't hide how I feel. But the bigger question I have for you all is the federal law that gets the Army Corps of Engineers involved, which is the U.S. waterways of the U.S. Correct? Yes.
There's several.
The waters of the state, I think is maybe what you're referring to.
No, this gets the Army Corps of Engineers. You go in and you contaminate, you move one thing, and we are right, our project is 87 feet from the headwaters of the Bergnals. Okay, we can't even go in and clean up the garbage without getting a slap from the Army Corps of Engineers. How are these folks allowed to do that? And you are the body that actually implements the law for EPA, correct?
We do, yes.
Then why did you not tell that to this body? You sat there and you danced all around it. I'm
So-
just gonna call you out,
Okay, so
okay?
we're,
Because you are the governing body for EPA.
And we have promulgated authority in certain aspects of the EPA. There are aspects of the federal government that we don't.
But you come in first, not the EPA. When there's an issue, correct?
Give me the issue.
Pick one.
Because like, again, there are some circumstances that if you call the TCEQ office, we're gonna refer you straight to the EPA. Or the Army Corps of Engineer. So like with respect to, you know, the public water supply systems and denying permits, right? That's probably gonna be more of a groundwater conservation district, but we ensure that the water coming out, we're gonna enforce the EPA drinking water standards for a public water supply system. And I just bring that up because that was brought up earlier, but endangered species, things like that, that's not the TCEQ.
And we don't, quite frankly, care about that. It is our water that is going to be contaminated immediately. And it goes back to this whole plume issue. It is not what happens before with the fire. It is what happens afterwards. If you look at what has happened, and this is a agricultural area, a lot of people have, you know, cattle. We have all kinds of things happening here. And it is what happens decades and even months later. All of those animals that are used for meat production in California had stillbirths. We are already losing cattle ranches in Texas at an alarming rate of 19,000 a year. Okay. The vast majority of our meat is imported from Argentina. 60% of our meat comes from Argentina because we are not policing this kind of stuff. Okay. And that is the biggest problem. And you all sit here and you dance around the topic. And what I'm seeing through this whole process as a former governmental affairs person of 30 years, 40 years, is that unless the specific question is asked of you, you omit what is really being the problem. And that is offensive to all of us here because we pick up the dime and you all sit in your nice little houses somewhere else. Well, we have to deal with this. And how are you as an agency going to deal with 920 some odd of these projects across Texas? That is absolutely lunacy to think any one agency can mitigate what happens after the fact. But guess what? We know what happened after 3 Mile Island. We know what happened after Love Canal. We know what happens after Moss Landing. And you sit here today and act like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry this is happening to you. That is absolutely offensive. I'm done.
Is Lee Gilmer still here? Lee?
I've lived here for 12 years. My husband has.
Hang on,
No, that's right there.
we need new batteries.
I've lived here for 12 years. My husband was 50 years in the electric power industry, designing substations for wind and solar energies, and worked for a number of big and small power companies. We've been watching this with Moss Landing. And he's not here because he thinks he would have been thrown out. He's so mad. And what I want to know first, where do you get your funding? Where do you
Like
you get
just in
your
general,
funding?
most of we're fee funded. So when you apply for a permit or authorization, those funds will go into, and it depends, air, water, waste, Edwards, we're all gonna have different funds.
You don't get any funding from the green energy?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay,
I mean, there's disposal fees.
yeah.
It's so roundabout like that, you know,
Yes.
but there is an agency, there's some federal funding, there's state funding and there's fee funding.
Okay, thank you. What they're saying now, I think everybody pretty much knows that there's 1,000 times what the maximum amount of cobalt, magnesium, and nickel in the land all around Moss Island. Luckily, it was at a place where they had 80 to 100 air monitoring systems in the slough. They're now finding 1 to 2 inches of all of their soil is contaminated. So you're not going to be moving, and as they said, you couldn't clean the fire equipment. You're not going to be moving back into that area. That area is going to be dead for years. You can't grow anything. You can't raise cattle. So that's what we're looking at here. And who's going to pay for that? The US government, because the company that runs it will be bankrupt and they don't have any money set aside, or no insurance company should insure them. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. How about Don Miller?
Good morning.
That's great.
First of all, I want to thank all of y'all for being here. 6 people had to make a trip from Austin. I feel sorry for you had to head back, but anyways, 2 points, and as they come to mind. One, the retired fire worker made his first remarks talking about, in particular, the situation that those of us in Comfort that live on Flat Rock Creek, it's a one-way, I mean, it's a single road all the way up, and the best facility is toward the beginning of the road. So if there's any emergency response whatsoever, I'm not getting out. Harvey Berner's not getting out. Kenny Kane's not getting out. I can go up the road and tell you all the people that aren't getting out. We're trapped with a moss landing at the back end. That's one thing to think about in particular. But I would say probably the thing, and I appreciate all that you shared here, the thing that you could do for us, you guys could do, is you could take the moss landing and imagine that on your plate and all the damage and destruction and how much it's going to cost to clean up if that happens in one of your facilities in Texas. As the Commission on Environmental Quality, that's your job. You don't have any authority to shut them down. We understand that. But you need to go to the governor and lieutenant governor and say, we need some power and we need to put a stop to these things until we get a good study. Because what we're seeing at Moss Landing, this is going to screw Texas if we have 942 of these bombs sitting in our counties around the state. And that's what you could do for us, is go to the governor and say, give us some authority, get us, because when this happens, it's going to be a black eye for everybody in the government in the state of Texas. It's not going to be my fault, but I'm going to have to pay the bill like all the other people do, because these companies, whether they're from Norway or whether they're from South Korea or wherever they're from, they're going to be gone. And you're going to go, good luck trying to find money from them. And the bond issue and all these other questions. I mean, I think the best thing you guys could do with all the expertise that you have in your unit, you're part of TCEQ, is to say, okay, let's sit down and let's imagine, let's do a exercise and pretend Moss Landing happened in Kendall County. What the hell are we going to do about the water that's been contaminated? What are we going to do about the land that's been contaminated? Because that's what environmental quality is about. That's your bailiwick. And so, and how much money will it cost to recover? And how many years is it going to take? And what about those poor people that live there that are still alive? You know, what's the cost going to be? And say, is it worth it? Asking the governor, asking Dan Patrick, is it worth it for this little bit of benefit we're supposedly going to get, that we're all going to pay for in electric bills anyways? Is it going to be worth the benefit? And that's the big question you can help us with. And you've got the expertise, and you can go out and talk to those people in Moss Landing and get some questions answered and study the legal aspects of what can we do and can't we do. I know you don't have the authority now, neither do the county commissioners. But there are things you can do and say, Governor, help us right now. This thing could explode on us tomorrow. And you guys don't want to be on the cleanup side of things, I'll bet. You'd rather be on the preventive side of things. And that's what we're asking for. And I thank you for making the trip. I really do. And I thank you for all the work that this whole board's doing, but they're already working on the substation up there on Comfort on Flat Rock this week, doing some new construction right out there in the front one. The substation that's supposed to handle all the solar and wind. So, I mean, they're not stopping because we're having this meeting.
That's right.
But again, I want to thank you and everybody for putting all the expertise you bring to it and all the questions you've answered. And I just implore you, Go talk to those people in Austin that you're sitting next to, you chair people and say, we need to push this because we're going to get caught flat-footed and we're going to be the ugly duckling of the state when this happens, because it's going to be nasty. And you can see that in California. You can see it in New York. You can see it in Australia. I mean, it's happened more than a few places. Anyways, thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
And what's, little commentary, what's really sad is most of these wouldn't happen at all if it wasn't for the federal subsidies and the funding that's coming through the federal government, through the state. But, okay, so that's all the speakers that signed up, and I think we'll wrap things up. Oh, you have some more? Gosh. All right, we'll bring them up.
I guess we'll let Barbara.
Who are you?
Well, you can be next.
That microphone doesn't work.
Oh,
there,
that's
so
right.
Little, there you go.
I'd like to thank you all for coming today. And hopefully LCRA will decide they want to cooperate, and we'll see them here also. My name is Barbara Ferguson. I'm District Director for State Representative West Verdell. He couldn't be here today. He's on the House floor. They are debating the school issue. Not that anybody cares about that, right? But anyway, that's why he's not here today. He was very concerned. He is very concerned about this. He has legislation that is moving forward. And on the legislation aspect, I would like to make just a couple of comments. Their Bill 1343 is to bring it under PUC permitting process, the best plants. Also legislation 1378 institutes the 500-yard requirement from adjacent property. And this can have an impact on plants that are currently being considered because they don't meet that. And if we can get this legislation passed, if we get it passed with a big enough vote, it's effective immediately. Would like to put out a word of warning on one piece of legislation, HB 3824. It's not a bad piece of legislation until you get down to section 2. It says none of it's applicable until January 1st of 2027. So that piece, if an amendment could be attached to it, and that piece is being forwarded by Representative King, who is the chairman of the State Affairs Committee, who is overseeing all this legislation. I think all of you gentlemen here understand that January 1st of 2027 is not nearly soon enough. You can make recommendations on legislation, don't know whether that falls in your purview or not. Section 2 needs to be struck from that legislation. That should not go forward that way. It won't help anything.
Can you repeat the number?
It's HB 3824. And again, the significance is the chairman of the committee overseeing this legislation is the one who wrote this bill. And perhaps that's a typo. I'd like to think that's a typo. Yeah. But it needs to be struck. Then, in addition to the legislative aspect, I also want to bring out one of the plants currently. I think they're doing some land work already. And it's in a county that our 391 does not include, Gillespie County, but it is within 1,000 feet, 1,000 feet, less than 1,000 feet of the Harper Elementary School.
Actually, it's a K through 12.
Yeah.
There's 588 students
Yeah.
that cannot be evacuated. We
Yeah.
have enough buses.
Okay, all right, this is unconscionable. So
What was the name of that facility?
It's
it's
Roger's Draw.
Harper.
it's one of the groups that you've been meeting with every 2 weeks, the Peregrine.
think predator, like the peregrine.
Yeah, so anyway, I just wanted to bring that up, because this is what a lack of oversight results in. That all of a sudden, bam, you can put it on the doorstep of a school.
Yeah.
And there needs to be immediate action on this. I would encourage all the public to follow the legislation. Go to TLO online, call your representatives, let them know what you want. Call TCEQ, call LCRA, make yourself a nuisance. And I mean that in the best way. So, believe me, I've been handling all the school voucher calls, so I know what that's like. But that's the way we get our voices heard. I also want to ask that TCEQ would really reconsider any further grants for programs that sponsor BESS. I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to that. Then also, I have a question about the National Fire Code. Well, actually, it's the standard, but the Fire Code, which Chapter 52 would provide for regulation of buses. Sitting in your seats, I would think you would be looking for somebody who's going to start regulating this stuff so that you don't end up with the fallout of it. Can we enforce these fire codes through local means? Our county commissioners, our judges, our DAs? Is there any reason that we can't tell every single BESS operator meet all this criteria before you come here? Because those are the default codes for Texas. Is that not correct?
I don't know the default codes. We can get with the fire marshal's office.
Yeah, that's correct. They're the default codes. So if we don't have our own, these are automatically the codes. This would go a long way towards some safety and giving pause to these companies for even building.
You're talking about, are you talking about NFPA?
NFPA standards, which
855?
855 and the actual fire code is Chapter 52, which can be enforced through local means, even if we don't have a fire marshal, which is our circumstance here in Kerr County.
Okay, so I'm aware of the codes, whether it's the statewide default or not.
Yeah, it is. It's the default. If you don't have if you haven't established your own in the county, then those are your default codes.
Okay.
So anyway, I'd like to encourage the public to also be speaking with their county commissioners, their judges, their DAs, say, look, if we're not going to get anything out of Austin on this, enforce our fire codes. Yes. Bring them to the table and tell them this is what we're going to expect of you if you plan to even move a bush in Kerr County or in Kendall County. Okay. I want to thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
I'm just going to make a statement so that everybody here in the room understands, that's exactly what Van Zant County and their district attorney is doing. And the developer is basically saying, yeah, we're going to comply. And the sad truth is 855, it's not specific enough. It says it has to have water available. Well, how much? You can't have enough water available to fight a fire, contain it. And the containment issue, it's unclear. So when you think about all the tax incentives and subsidies that are made available, they're happy to comply and proceed. You're just gonna make it a little bit more difficult, take it a little longer, but unfortunately, and it's a plus, don't get me wrong, but the code itself needs to be strengthened. We're not there.
But I believe Commissioner Pace's, Van Zant County has a temporary restraining order.
Yeah, 14 days.
Yes, but it's a start.
No, I agree, it's a start, and it'll be, we will be following with utmost interest
Yes.
and wish them success. But my point being, there's so much money that these people are getting from the government
Yes, sir.
to inflict tragedy upon us
Yes, sir.
that it won't matter.
Yes, sir.
It's just gonna slow down. Anyway, my opinion, I guess, David Nash has submitted a form, so David, come on up.
Thank you for having me. I live in Harper. I've been testifying
some of these bills. Thank you, Barbie, for bringing up the HB 3824. I did testify and did make them aware of this one January 27 deal. So, and that really means a lot because there's 984 of these per the February GIS report from ERCOT. And that majority of them are standalone where they just put them onto existing substations. And a lot of those already have interconnecting agreements, which this section 2 says if you have one of those agreements before that, it won't apply. So all of these are subject to just continuing. And so now the question is, what can we do now? Well, I understand the agencies are hand tied by all the codes they have to follow, that sort of thing. But I do believe that the county does have the authority to look at their site plans, for example, because I had got a resolution approved in Gillespie County and talked to the judge, said it's all legal. You don't have to have a fire marshal to, the commission is the authority having jurisdiction, and it's up to them to determine other people. Of course, the fire marshal could be included, but what it comes down to is being able to do what Commissioner Holt was talking about. If you're talking about worst case, you want to do something now, you get their site plan and then you spread it out, because NFPA 855 is going to go with 3 foot between these. Okay, you want to spread that out as far as it takes within the acreage that they've already taken from private properties in incorporated areas, not unincorporated areas. And at least let's try to do something now to make the worst case one of those containers catching on fire. And if not, litigation, because that's where we're at. And hopefully we can get some stuff done through the legislation. This one bill has a chance because of what Barbara was saying. It has a companion also, identical companion. And so hopefully we can get that section 2 struck, get some other wording there. And that has in it documentation relating to the site layout. Okay, so that's kind of key to me. Now, as far as cybersecurity and all that, I know that could cause problems. I can't go there. I don't know how to address that. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Carrie Schmerman.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rich Paces, and thank you, commissioners and everyone that came here today. Our community is so thankful that you came to address this very serious issue. And I agree with Rich Paces that the risks far outweigh any benefits. And I do appreciate all of the legislative and the talks in the physical realm, but where the rubber meets the road, this is a spiritual issue. This is a good versus evil. This is war. This is a battle. And at the end of the day, we have to see what is backing and behind all of this. This is the almighty dollar. And any of you who have ever studied the Bible, it says that the root of all evil is money, not the love of money, but the root is the love of money. And so this is all a money backing that's affecting the preciousness of our community and all of the people here. That's who it's affecting. It's very destructive. And so to love our neighbor, that's what you were saying, Linda, is that our neighbors, this is affecting our neighbors. And at the end of the day, this is a spiritual matter. And we as believers, we have the authority as believers to call this down and to pray, to come together. We can call LCRA, we can call TCEQ, we can call all these people, but guess what? We can call God Almighty, our Heavenly Father, And we can call this down and bring this to nothing, to void, to not. We can call it down. So I am encouraging the believers of Kerr County and the state of Texas, because this is Texas invasion. This is our precious Texas. And we can call this down because we have a sovereign God who hears our prayers. Thank you all for coming today.
Thank you. Anyone else?
We have some folks that came.
And
from
one
Austin
other,
County.
can I add one other comment that we have not talked about that I think people do need to know that we're experiencing in Gillespie County? Again, this is more of, you need to know. So many people in Gillespie County have already lost their homeowners insurance because of their proximity to a fire station. I was informed by an industry insider about 10 days ago that Chubb, which is one of the largest high-end home insurers, had a meeting that he presented at in Florida, and it was the US underwriters and their international underwriters. They specifically had him come and speak about this. They are looking for any reason to cancel your insurance. And if you have a mortgage, your bank will call your mortgage and you will lose your home. So this is the ripple effect of all of this stuff, not to mention your property values. You will not be able to sell your property. Once this is disclosed, your realtor must tell that prospective buyer that you are in proximity to this facility. And it is a realtor ethics violation not to disclose that. And you can be fined exponentially, but you need to understand the insurance components of this. It is, I mean, in Gillespie is a $20 million a year wine industry, just that, plus our farming and everything else. So your insurance, your homeowner's insurance will be canceled.
How did they define proximity?
That's the question that has not been determined. If they use, like they do with the fire, and you look at the emergency response guide, it is more than 15 miles. Okay. And yeah, and you will not, in Gillespie's situation, this facility in Hartford, which is one of two, maybe three, we will have to evacuate all of Fredericksburg. And then it goes back to your path of exit. Most of them will be blocked. And if any of you have ever been in a hurricane, yeah, try and move all your livestock. Try and move your children out of a school in Gillespie's case, 48 seconds is what, with a 15-mile-an-hour wind, is when the plume will reach that school. All of those children will die. I asked Peregrine's, what I call hired gun, who's a former hospital administrator. I said, would you please tell this room what happens when a young child's lungs are exposed to hydrogen fluoride and hydrogen cyanide? And she actually had the audacity to say, I don't think that's relevant here. And I reminded her that school is less than 1,000 feet from their facility. Okay. These people do not care. Okay. But 48 seconds, those children will all die. 588 of them, plus all of the teachers and the coaches.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Then we have Bridget and Diane.
Hi, how are you guys? Can you hear me okay?
Small.
Small one. Ah, I like the smaller one even.
Sorry.
I'm Bridget Corick.
I'm Diana Grovey.
We're from Austin County. We are facing the same thing that you all are facing. We're facing the same thing that you all are facing. You know, my dad always raised me to say, if you have a problem, you better have a solution. We're trying to find solutions right now. We're in the middle of getting ready to get in the middle of a lawsuit. I'll let Diana talk more. She works for our judge. But we didn't even know, we have one that's already getting ready to be turned on. We have 8 slated for Austin County. Austin County is about 30,000 people. We have 2 in the middle of Belleville, Texas. That's where we're located, Belleville, Industry, Sealy. And they're a stone's throw, and I mean literally a stone's throw to our jail, our hospital, and then what else is everything? It's in the middle of our town. And then they have another gentleman who's called Belleville Bess, who has slated another one 200 yards from an elementary school. And he has another 69 acres connected to that is surrounded by a neighborhood. And, it's very scary. Now, the first half, this is when it becomes a problem because they are very smart. They've come into the counties and not the cities. But the cities have some kind of power a little bit too, because there's streets that lead to these places. So not only do you need to get your commissioners involved and your judge involved, get your city involved. Now, my city at first was like, that's a county. No, this is your problem now too. Now they're getting on board. But here's the deal we faced is that they came out of nowhere. We had no clue that that one went in. And then another one was slated. They were actually approved by our city, our county engineer. And we showed up, we found out, and we said, no. This is very, very dangerous. But nobody knew nobody knows what BESS is. And the more that I'm doing, I'm just an individual who loves my county. I moved from the Woodlands, Texas to a small town, and now I have to fight this too. And I have been, I was at the Capitol on Monday, and now here I am here. So it's a big passion of mine, and not just a passion, it's a safety thing. You know, I love Texas. And this is not, I'm here because this isn't just our counties, it's our state. This is what we need to get together. We need to have all the counties get together and let them know. I did find out, and I'm not going to throw the governor under the bus because I voted for the governor, but the governor is for these because of these data centers. Now, you know, some representatives and people told me, you know, you need to make him aware that we're not for it and we vote for you. So you do need to call. A lot of people are like, well, what do I do? Well, we tell you what to do. I've even put it on paper. Just, you guys are already doing it, but we're learning from her. We actually have a resolution. If we can all come together, there's more power in numbers. We're going to be reaching out to y'all too, but probably not you, but a different, you know, that covers Austin County because we don't know what to do. We're trying everything we can do at Austin County. We're slated to be the #1 state with best sites. They're coming here because there's not any regulations. The land's cheap. It's very terrifying and people don't know. And once they find out about these best sites, this is why you're getting, now it's starting to kick up now because they came in the back door and they're young companies. We have On Energy who we're getting ready to, they threatened us with a lawsuit. We have a meeting on Monday night. If anybody wants to drive 4 hours, please come at 6 o'clock. We would love for you to be there. They're threatening a lawsuit. They gave us 30 days. They came back and said, okay, now let's talk again. And we're like, you can talk all you want, but we're not gonna back down from this now. But the more people that you get, the better. So
Sure.
She works with the judge. She can tell you a little bit more what they're thinking is.
Well, I know that the judge and the commissioners have been fighting this. We don't know much about it because it came into our county so quickly. We've got, like she said, 8 slated for the county. So we're just unfortunately reacting instead of, you know, being proactive. Unfortunately, because we didn't see this coming. But so yes, we are doing a lot of research, and I just wanted to let you guys know that y'all aren't alone. The whole state, I believe, is fighting this, and I'm very disappointed. I learned today that TCEQ has granted this. That just breaks my heart because it's ruining. I'm 5th generation Texan, and we have owned property for years, ranching, and it's just, we're right on the Brazos River, and I'm actually a DR for TCEQ, and as well as the chief of staff we wear many hats in small counties, and that to get an OSSF facility has more regulations than this does, and that's insane, absolutely insane. So that's all I have to say is that y'all are not alone, and we are trying to fight this battle.
It's about your litigation.
Litigation. Okay, so there's really no update on that yet. It's fairly new.
It's a threat right now. They gave us.
They filed litigation against you because you withheld a permit, correct?
Correct.
Right.
Correct. They followed all of the restrictions or anything that we could impose on them. So
our engineer had to, you know, try to get it approved or authorized in court, and court denied it. So now we're being, yeah.
And court denied it because we showed up.
You showed up.
Because, you know, they're voted to help us, you know what I'm saying? To help us. And that's why it got stopped. And now the more studying they're doing and things, it's terrifying. It really is. Listen, this is not what I wanted to do, but once I got in, I'm like a dog with a bone. Once you give it to me, I'm like, the research I'm done on this becomes more and more terrifying every day. You talk about insurance. The gentleman at Moss Landing, I don't know if you heard about that. They helped stop his house being on fire. And the insurance company, even though he was contaminated with all kinds of things, and he has to dig up, the insurance said, there's no damage. We're not covering anything. So now wait until he tries to get insurance, because I'm sure they're going to drop him. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that are in play here. And I don't know why I didn't hear about this before. Best, you know, I mean, we have some people who go, oh, we had a friend who owns a mechanic shop, and somebody came and says, well, who's Bess and why are we all mad at her? And it's like, well, we're not mad at her. And then you have to go explain. This is not, it's not being stupid. It's being ignorant to the fact that people don't know what Bess is because they came in through the back door.
That's right.
And we're stuck, like we're behind the 8 ball right now is what's happening. And we need your help, though. We need everybody's help in this. So, and if you have any solutions, please let us know, because we'll take anything we can get. So, thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Don't have a form.
I know, I came in a little late. I didn't get a form to you. If I could though, address just for a minute. I'm Jim Roger. We live out close to Harper, west of Harper, and thank you.
So now we have a form.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Like I say, we're out near Harper and involved kind of Johnny come lately, but with the best facility that is going in near the school there. It's been well covered. I'd like to just briefly address this from a completely different level. All of the immediate issues are being covered well. Obviously, everyone's concerned, everyone's against it. No one has the authority to stop it. That's basically the bottom line. I come at it from I have 3 grandchildren going to the Harper School. And I'm a retired Air Force officer, retired PhD in physics, doing research for almost 40 years for the Air Force, for Boeing. I look at this from a top level point of view. All of these issues need to be addressed to stop this immediately at all costs. We need to stop it because it's ridiculous. But this needs to be addressed at a much higher level. The whole concept of renewable energy sources, the best systems that are necessary because of those unreliable renewable sources. That is the very reason for the existence and the pushing of the best facilities. We don't need any of that.
No.
If any of you have driven past Sweetwater, Texas in the last several years, there are acres and acres of windmill parts stacked 15 feet high from these systems that have horrible life cycle costs, very inefficient, spread out over half of Texas. And a longer term solution is ramp up the natural gas production, which is by far the majority of production in our state and in the country. That infrastructure already pretty much exists. So, and if you look at I was just looking yesterday at a graph of energy production sources in Texas. Natural gas is by far 50, 60, 70% of it. And the interesting thing is we have 2 nuclear power stations in Texas. They produce 5 to 10%, but that is so constant. You look across that graph in time, it is absolutely rock solid constant. And one of those has been in production since 70s, I think 1970 something, with no incidents, right? So there are other solutions that are much more effective, much more cost effective, much safer, and now people are looking very seriously in the fairly near term for what are called modular compact nuclear reactors. And those could be, imagine instead of a BESS system, you have a controlled small nuclear facility somewhere in the general area that have already demonstrated a good safety record and can be done again. So the point is, at a much higher level, we need to go back and look at this from a strategic point of view and revisit, why are we even talking about BESS systems at all? And renewable systems, because it's a great concept and it's one of those virtue signaling things of, oh, we're going to save the planet, but it's a horrible way to address our energy issue. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna take a 15-minute break here. This will conclude the coordination meeting with TCEQ. We still have a lot of other things on our agenda to work through, but I certainly want to thank TCEQ for coming and attending. And with it, you have some homework to do as a result of all this, and we'll have minutes and give you the specific questions that come out of it. But again, I just really appreciate you coming, and it was very helpful to have you present here. Glad to be here. We'll reconvene at I guess about 12:35. Make that a 10-minute break. I see it. That's in the audience, but
You're good, sorry. Sorry.
Selling service. I'm also in the city. So I have not been.
okay. Tell us the same thing. I don't do this. Right to talk on the table. He didn't see no, he doesn't. These guys, probably, but he needs to have
In this process, again, we're just trying to is to, but
it's not a coordinated, it doesn't escape like it.
it does, but it's not, so we're doing what we can with what we have, and so that's why I can just, but. That's in our process of. We know that there was might be things, however, they're gonna give solutions to us as they do. When they don't know, but they do have what they can do, you know, some of those things, take these notes of all of this. According to right now. I'm sure they'll go back.
Glad to hear this one lady.
Yeah. State, so right now, and it county, their DA, because stop off because their best association in Van was about to hook up. They failed every single one of the tests that they're supposed to. So
Why can't we?
based on. So we don't have legislation. They're
To enforce, right? It's just, say they can do it. So that's what I'm. It's using a standard.
It just. So it's a little bit.
Here's
I say, small town. Continue to try to.
So.
I didn't know that happened in last election and here we are. So. I appreciate you coming.
Yeah, thanks for something.
Kendall County, right?
Probably a cause who has no clue.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll actually get back to
We're trying to get this. Their job is. It's also All right. Nice to meet you. I am. What else did you? Here's what I do. And I communicate this.
React. Hold on, let the happy face. Get the information you needed. I did. Yeah, I'm getting out from my computer.
So I don't think you're showing that proactive.
You should need to go.
So legally, so I can't. No, well, I have. There's not. We got it. All of the regulation.
Commissioner, thank you.
Take care. Nice to meet you.
You too.
It's all about. All the get to see. What happened? They didn't try to see for that sandwich at all. There was some things kind of. Oh. You know.
There's one we doing with this, right? Thank you for. Absolutely. Yeah, y'all going into a play session? Yes. You're done?
No.
Garden.
Feel like I'm feeling like I'm. Get it done, man. Get it done.
Gotta let it go. They are different last night. Yeah. It's like, you know, why they. Yeah. Just try to understand. Those kids, it's really great.
Lost Commissioner McCall.
Yes. When you were given to hopefully somebody.
No, we could just start today.
It seems like you're losing time.
And I didn't put him on the. They were they asked for. I was asking. Well, from my, yeah, I didn't know the price, it was no, 8 or 9 things. Then when I saw it, I was like, you know, what are they close to?
Okay, no, but it's here.
No, you called for 5. You've been on.
Yeah.
I followed plugging you in on. What they're gonna get is power when you sell it out. Yeah, because they may not stay here. In fact, I'm sure that's their name. For the amount.
Are these mics still on? Did it get shut off? I got shut off. Yeah. Just briefly. A little nippy. I'm glad I got my nippy shirt on. So Commissioner Holt. We need to restart. You run faster than you. Jeff.
I didn't get a chance to almost get to do work that time, so I'm sure I know it's like I can't, it's like no part of it.
Okay, we're gonna reconvene our meeting. So the public is certainly welcome to stick around or leave. We lost our first level, comes a little closer. Okay. So. Missing anybody? I guess we'll go back to agenda item number 1, which was the approval of the March 26th meeting minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look at it and post it on the website?
Yes,
Need a motion to approve those
I'd
minutes?
like to make a motion to approve those minutes, March 26th.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Okay, unanimous. Let's see, that takes us to item number 3, update on coordination notices sent to PUCT, ERCOT, and LCRA. Really, you know, again, all the coordination is, all the coordination correspondence is available on the website. In terms of PUC, that's the most recent. They did send a letter back. And hopefully everybody's had a chance to look at it. You know, once again, they're basically just trying to talk about the process and say they're not really involved in proving these things, which is a bit disconcerting. They say they do not have the ability to affect the location or type of electric generation, including batteries. And they're saying in the ERCOT region, power generation is largely deregulated. So that companies don't need permission from PCUT to build power plants or battery storage facilities. Again, very, very concerning. So I guess they're trying to say that we should be meeting with developers, which we don't really have authority to do that. Not that we can't. I guess we don't need microphones anymore since it's just us. So I think we need to talk about next step with PUCT. And I'll table that for the moment. ERCOT, Commissioner Holt and I did have a conversation with 2 representatives from ERCOT. It was actually a healthy conversation.
Was that by phone? Or?
Yeah, it was, well, actually, it was a Teams meeting, but it was their meetings and not ours. So that was on March 28th. And again, you know, they were basically just saying that they have zero role in picking locations or types of resources. So they don't tell anybody what or where to put anything. And then if they do become aware of somebody, they just make sure that the infrastructure can handle the new facility. And supposedly they analyze the project and model the system and do some form of testing. So, you know, they're kind of like a gatekeeper to protect the grid. But they are pretty well, they seem to be obligated to allow anybody to connect to it, providing it doesn't jeopardize the grid. And obviously, we have not gotten into any detail on how they do their testing or how they model the system to ensure that a new BESS isn't going to have a negative impact. So they seemed willing to come for a coordination meeting.
Really what?
They're willing to come for a coordination meeting. Help me, Commissioner Holt. Did they say they were going to specifically respond? I kind of think I asked them to give us a date. Anyway, I haven't heard anything further from them, so I need to follow
Yeah,
up.
we need to reach out and try to have similar type of that. I've seen.
I think that having them come would be such a, I think today that all of these gentlemen's eyes were open. I think the fact that we thought we were gonna get 2 and we got 5,
6 people
The
from.
number 3 guy for TCEQ.
So obviously, the word is getting out, and I think that their eyes were opened. They were taking a lot of notes. So I think it's worth asking ERCOT to come in. They can say what they want.
Yeah.
But behind the scenes, we don't know how much pressure they're getting and just the education that they received. I think the information today was
They got an earful.
important.
They did.
And this will be on our website, so they'll tell others or look again. So I think it'd be good to have them.
I want to commend our secretary. I think he chose wisely.
What?
She had some great questions.
Yes.
Her preparation has been exceptional, so I think he chose wisely. Okay, and let's see, who did that? LCRA, there's nothing new from LCRA. They've just kind of gone quiet. And again, it's a kind of standard line that, you know, well, we're obligated to connect anybody with what their wording in their letter,
I need to reach out.
undiscriminate.
I'm gonna reach back out to Randa at LCRA, who's in charge of their electrical program, and ask either that we come there or she
No.
come here.
They need to come here.
Okay.
We have asked for a coordination meeting and we need to follow up and just insist
Okay.
that they come here, because again, I think, as Commissioner McCall has pointed out, you know, these agencies need to hear from the public too and
Yeah.
understand just how concerned everybody is and that nobody really wants these things. And I hope we'll get this kind of a turnout the next time we have a coordination meeting with any of them.
Here's how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go face to face with her.
Okay,
I'm gonna go there.
good. That's fine.
Ask for them to come here, because I want to see, and it's hard to tell people no face to face.
Right.
Right, and understanding what happened with TCEQ and why we need to understand the grid and their plans for the grid and their
Sure.
role in the grid. And to either confirm or deny the information that we think that we've got.
Yeah, just put it to them. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
You might learn something new, and you'll certainly be made aware of our concerns.
Yeah.
You know, we have no legal authority that's binding on them or to insist that they do anything in particular. But they are obligated legally to coordinate. And they need to hear our concerns and how we would plan for development versus what they're doing.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think I'm gonna have to send third letters to PUC and ERCOT as well.
And maybe
I'll try
we-
to call Doug Fair, who we had our meeting with, and say, okay, we're kind of waiting on you to come back with a date, but we still want a coordinate meeting. So I'll take care of the ERCOT, and depending on what he says verbally, I'll see if we need to send another letter. But I think for sure, if you'll follow up with LCRA, and then I'll send another letter back to PUC So I appreciate your information you provided in your letter, but we still insist that you come to a coordination meeting.
So do we want to include anything that are like, is it going to be a stronger letter and include the fact that they have to coordinate with our,
Well, we kind of did that already in the other
in
letter
the
we
first
sent.
one? Okay.
Not the first one, the second one. I think we provided a copy of the
Okay. I don't
judge's
remember.
ruling that said they were obligated to coordinate. So
Well,
I'm not sure. I'll check with Dan Byfield and see what his advice is. Get him to come.
I know it took, Waller County quite a few times to convince them.
Yeah. Well, again, I think we just emphasize they're legally required and gosh, I'm not sure at what point we decide to go legal. And had some success with Cook County's district attorneys. Served more than Kirk County.
Yeah.
She's 198th, right? She is. And anyway, she may be willing to issue an order to a developer similar to Van Zant's district attorney. So
Well,
that's ours.
Yeah,
Kendall County.
we need to kind of investigate that as well. I know, the surveyor's been out there on Flat Rock yesterday. So, we have some imminent issues
Yeah.
to talk
And
about.
you guys in a way are much better positioned with your fire marshal. That you could take immediate steps to point out deficiencies or, whatever you guys think is appropriate.
Well, initially, the developments on Flat Rock Creek are going to get denied.
Right.
Based on one entrance.
Okay.
One road.
Based on,
There's only one way in,
based
one way out.
right.
The question I have, which, are we on number?
Well, this is
Number 3.
number 3.
The question I have is, if you take a stance like Austin County did. And just said no.
Right.
And use public safety as the reason. What kind of legal situation do we find ourselves in personally?
Yeah.
I would say ask your county
lawsuit.
attorney, but
Yeah.
did he quit?
We'll be finding another legal counsel, but I think. We all know though, there's probably some legalities that we're gonna face from these billion-dollar companies.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'd rather have a rule that we're standing behind to give us legal.
Well, protecting the health, safety and welfare of our constituents is certainly in the code and we have that as a legal standard to use, but yes, I mean, do you really want to go there with a lawsuit? That's the whole issue and it's costly to defend and Kirk County did that on a development project
And what
because of
happened?
the road situation.
You used a moratorium or temporary?
Well, we denied a permit.
Oh, you denied.
We
the
denied a permit
And then
and
were
there was a
you,
lawsuit as a result and actually we won the case.
and how much did it cost you?
I don't know the actual number, but it was a lot. A lot.
Did you have to get outside counsel?
We pay about 300 grand a year. It's in the budget for outside
Well,
counsel.
we don't actually pay that much though. That's
It's just in budget.
that's how much we budget.
It's budgeted, okay.
So there's a difference between actual and
Sure.
budget. And that year probably was a little bit higher, but I don't think it was anywhere close to 300,000. That's just a number that people had latched onto because we budget that much.
Right.
But every year, we always have, well, we never spend our budgeted funds. Because we over budget.
Okay.
And it's not a bad thing. Just you have to be aware that
So this was,
hope that happens. Because it's better than the alternative of needing more money and not having anywhere to get it from.
Right.
so this was a case where you actually had permitting authority
Yeah,
You
different
can't-
on a subdivision. It was a,
and you used it. You
Yes.
used your permitting authority and you were sued.
yes,
You can be sued for anything.
Well, yeah, these days you can be
You
sued
can be
for
sued for anything, so.
But to deny someone,
Their right to,
to deny, you have to have a reason.
yeah,
And so,
and they didn't like the reason. They didn't think it was, they thought they could beat it.
Well, enough money and a good lawyer, you beat
Right.
almost anything. But anyway, you have to have some basis in a fire code, I'm sure,
Well,
to rely on. So,
which I think we've got quite a good case.
well, for example, with one road in, is the code clear on that? Or you rely
that's
on
the fire
your
code is supposed to. That was coming from Todd LaBerge, our outside fire counsel.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway. I guess that's all I really have on item number 3. So,
Jeff, look at that. We got a 4-hour drive on. We found an answer that we could connect on with somebody on a 391. I'm so sorry.
that's all right.
Sorry.
We got long drive, so,
You do.
we'd love
We'll
to-
send you the 391
Do
guy.
you have a card?
I might be able to come up with one, but I'm on the website.
Yeah,
Okay.
for the website.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Thank you all. We didn't mean to
Well, thanks for
come in
coming.
and disturb, but we just want to let you know we're fighting the same thing and
Appreciate you making a 4-hour drive for all that.
well, we got some valuable information
Yeah.
and that was what we were in for. Exactly, we're coming, that's what exactly, what can we do?
Yeah.
And that 391,
This works.
this is good. This is good when you have other people in other counties because a lot of them are ahead of us or they're
Well, it doesn't
behind
have
us.
to be
But you
another
can
county.
join.
It can be a city.
Yeah, but we got Waller County.
You can probably
Oh, well,
join.
there you
in.
go.
He has a 391, we found out, or has a 391 set up, so we're gonna try to connect, hook onto them.
Well, at least they know what 391s are all about, so,
Helpful.
yeah.
Very, so,
Judge Dugan.
And we just did a, resolution, and that said, I was like all over looking for solutions. What other counties are doing, what's successful, what's not working? And I found that resolution and they voted that in like within 3 days. So we have full support of our judge and our commissioner.
That's great.
We love our county, we love Texas.
Sure.
Yeah.
You have a
Good
card?
luck, Bruce.
I don't have a card, no, but you know what? I want to write on the back of that, so.
We're
I'll-
trying to put everything we can on our website, see.
Yeah, and I will get on it. We just, like I said, we're trying to get information and
Okay.
I came to meet him. And he's been, well, Wes gave me your number and sent you, oh, that's.
We should. Yeah, he's.
I took him to meet him up there.
Number one bill that he has to consider what he's doing today.
Is that the one with the 500
School
feet?
choice.
High school.
School.
Oh, the school choice. The other one's probably. Is what I heard, the 500 yards. Just because he's a freshman. That's what I heard.
Well,
For another
there's
senator.
typically a process to consolidate things, so and there are an awful lot of bills associated with
Well, we have.
battery energy storage systems.
We had
so-
Culver's, she had one on wind and, she has one on wind and, solar.
Yep.
And we said, can you, that.
This is your. What's
And they're like, no, because of what he said.
I have,
Yeah.
I have,
And it's
I
like,
have.
it's just like.
And I can imagine there's not enough resistance to wind and solar yet.
Right.
So
We're just,
that would
I
probably
mean.
get good.
Because I had not even looked up county so
Yeah.
about a month ago. And
Listen,
We're
in
quickly
Mason,
waking up.
in Mason County, they had a 391, they had a crest line that was going through to get power to cross. And they bought it and they won, and then a fest popped up within a number of years they didn't even know about. So you have, yeah.
we had one in Austin County that actually, you want to tell that story real quick? It was just,
Kind of a trick.
yeah, it was a trick. They tricked.
And it was, I think it was called, Castleman Power. Castleman Power came in and, wanted to open a peaker plant down one of our rural roads. And, after we approved everything, we sold the company to a BES company, and they did that instead of a conventional. So
It's not on yet, but it's there.
and it should be operational within the next month.
And the lady who lives right next door to him just said that her neighbor sold to him. So they're gonna put more, or sold to the company, so they're gonna put more. She's I've lost her husband. Now she can't sell her house. So,
So,
yeah, it's really, really sad.
Safe
All right,
drive
well,
back.
since you got it,
Thank you so much for letting us talk and all that good stuff.
all right, so let's move
Thank
on
you,
to
y'all.
agenda item 4, board member input.
There's
Linda,
something
go
else I
ahead.
wanted to say before we move on
Yeah.
to agenda item 4 with regard to setting meetings. Should we have that opportunity with any of these agencies? I would like to request that we not set a meeting as an agenda item of our regular meeting. Because it just, I think they deserve a dedicated meeting. And I think our experience here, it just makes our agenda too long. I mean, actually, I have a ton of things to say on member input, and I'm not going to say them, and they're important, I think, but we just don't, I wish we would just, if not invite them to come to a regular meeting and just, so that's my question to y'all, if we have the opportunity, if we can make a dedicated meeting for these and keep our meetings separate. What do y'all think about that?
I don't know.
I would respectfully disagree. I
Okay,
would say they are the reason we are here.
Dave, what?
If they come here, they are the reason we need to meet. That's the value of having a meeting where our exposure with this public, because TCEQ is here and our meeting, it is absolutely worth combining them together. This is probably our most powerful meeting that we've had. Sure. And our exposure with everyone that came.
But you can see the interest level. This
Yeah,
decline.
we had to have a pretty place.
Right,
That's the value of it.
but they came because you can see the meeting
Yeah.
now. They came
But that's,
for.
that's
the-
okay, because even in the earlier meetings, when we were just talking about administrative stuff, we had the same level of interest.
Exactly, and
So-
so why can't we? I mean,
Well, it's just difficult with all of our different schedules to
is it
have
just
so
a
many
matter of
different.
schedule? Is
But-
that the only reason?
And time,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, well,
what we do besides fight best. Real estate.
Yeah.
Teacher,
yeah,
chiropractor.
So, I think we're going to be driven based on whenever we can get the next one to agree to meet. And we've talked in the past that we would be pretty flexible.
Yeah.
And make every effort to accommodate a date that they want to propose. And I guess the concern would be whether we try to tack on any other business at the end of the agenda. I think we should handle it the same way we did this one. Do the coordination meeting almost separately, but certainly as the first point on the agenda.
Yeah.
And gee, if we cancel some of the other agenda items, that's okay.
well, then I think we probably should review our agenda for the rest of this meeting.
Well, and that's fine
maybe
if
just.
people don't want to, or just keep it short.
This should be a very specific purpose. The 391 should be very, should be pretty much in and out with what we're trying to do.
What,
I'm
I'm
not
not
sure.
sure, I'm not
Well,
sure which,
We're here to coordinate with other government agencies
absolutely.
and we don't have any authority on our own without our commissioners courts. And
But we
so-
do have administrative
We-
matters
we
to
do,
attend to.
and I
So,
agree.
and this, in her defense, this is our one opportunity to talk as a group about things that otherwise, can only have a conversation with one other person. So there's still a need to do a certain amount of
I agree.
stuff, so that we coordinate.
yeah, and also plan for the future meetings. I
Right.
mean, I felt kind of, the need for more planning among us for how we were going to interact with them. I mean, we were just all kind of on our own, or I felt on my.
Well, but you know what? In the end, Linda, I think it went
It
just
was
fine.
fabulous.
I think you got the main points out there.
I know.
And so, we could spend a lot more time planning and I'm not sure it would have gone that much better.
No, it went great.
So,
And I think the audience really
But this
appreciated it
was-
and got involved. So I think the way that we're doing it, I truly think it's better because those people need to see
all these.
Yeah, but they could, but those people would come if it weren't attached to our regular meeting.
They're not gonna come to this meeting sometimes anyway.
They're not gonna come to this meeting, they're gonna come because we're having a talk with an agency.
Right.
Yes,
And
but
so
then
That'll
maybe-
continue. Even if we
Well-
try to have some other administrative business on the agenda, they'll leave, just like this one.
And we do have people who watch the videos that don't come,
That's true. too.
Yeah.
that will be watching this.
So-
So we're gonna have a bigger audience than we had here
Sure.
watching, so.
And
It's,
this-
the
this
whole idea is to
We're
get,
still recording everything, so,
the idea is to
it's
get
gonna
the
be
word
out there.
out, so I think.
Well,
so, yeah,
so what I was gonna suggest about the rest of this meeting is that we really do only the urgent
sure.
issues, and that means that cuts out,
Well, let's just work through the agenda and, try to keep comments short and sweet to the point.
That was my point.
Yeah.
Is get it done, and
So-
let's move on because.
Okay, so
So
I
had an amazing day.
it was, item number 4, board member input. Anybody really want to add anything?
One thing,
Go ahead.
we need to send demand letters. to the
Sorry,
company.
what?
We need to send demand letters, my recommendation, to the company to get plans.
Oh,
TCEQ's recommendation was like, you should have the plans. Y'all should send a demand letter for the plans that are going into Comfort and going into Mountain Home.
Right. And do you think,
I don't have,
do you think that should, you're right. Is that something that this board should do or the individual county should do?
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know. I don't disagree with you.
So,
And it might be easier if this board does it than trying to get on
I
quotes.
know, I want to say that, and we're not exceeding our authority, I don't think.
But there's not a plan yet for a lot of these.
But
I have seen the site plan for East Point. They asked me to not be spreading that around right now because it's still an internal discussion, but until they submit something to our development office,
right.
we can't even apply. We can't apply any of our code enforcement on. But I mean, when it's there, the county should have their site plan. As that comes.
Yeah, it should, but we
No,
don't.
you're,
For Mountain Home.
Charlie can't look at anything until he's got it.
but that's part of the process.
I know, I haven't seen it.
I don't have a good answer. Right now, I talked with Charlie that we haven't received anything from anybody on this stuff.
Right, and we haven't officially either, right?
So,
I keep asking.
anyway,
I'd like to
I think it's a good
drive
drive.
them to make them submit their
The only
plans.
question is, do we
Even
do
if
it
it's
as
a draft.
individual counties or do we do it as a 391 SRPC?
I think we're more powerful as a group here.
Okay, what do you think?
That way we could share it easier.
We can't force them to give us something until
No,
they're
okay.
ready to submit it.
You're right,
But
but it doesn't stop us from asking.
from what I understand, the current state that they're in is they're waiting on their interconnectivity agreement. They're in their
From us.
interconnectivity study to be done so they can go forward with their plan. And if they can't handle the amount of offloading power back onto the grid, then they have to do a smaller.
Right.
Okay,
So
But,
they're waiting for that from LCRA.
but I think we're gonna have the plan before TCEQ will,
you may well.
or it may be at the same time. I don't know.
Well, yeah,
We definitely will get it.
you're probably right. Because TCEQ will get the construction permit